All right, hello everyone, and welcome to the 12th session of the Amalthea group. Just a few announcements before we get in. First is, if you weren't already aware, this is going to be our season finale. Keyword here, season, not series. We're doing this for several reasons, but long story short, today today will be a slightly longer session, or at least that's the plan, and we will be taking a week or two off, and then we will be back with Season 2. Other announcement I have today, I say because I want it as a point of order. I will not be starting this session with any threat. That's right, you've heard it right. I'm giving up my GM resources because there's reasons for that, and I didn't want it to seem like I'm hamstringing the players by having too much threat. So any threat that I spend are going to be threat that the players themselves give me. And if that didn't scare you enough, I will also say that today there is possibility for character death. Now, I have already talked to a few individuals about this, and they appear to be okay with it. And again, I just want to take the opportunity to remind everyone that this is a role-playing game. Sometimes death happens, and it can lead to good character development, and it can lead to character growth. However, sometimes character death is a very touchy subject for some people. And I just want you to know that I'm not doing this to kill anyone deliberately. I just want it on the table that if the dice do not fall in people's favor, that death may be on the table. Now, if that wasn't ominous enough, I'm going to go ahead and let Gorteg do his opening log.
All right. Commander's log. Stardate 63004.9. Commander Gorteg reporting. These last few days have been bittersweet for the fleet. A ship thought lost in another galaxy, the USS Adeona, has appeared inside the fleet's cordon. This has been a big mystery to everyone. Though the ship has turned, sorts, to Starfleet, the ship has missing 99% of its crew. Only the first officer and the chief engineer were aboard. They still think they are in a time in the past. The only link that we have is this mysterious appearance of an individual named Andromeda, who claims to be from the 29th century. This person claims to be from a Temporal Integrity Commission, whatever that means. They say they are here to prevent what happened to the Adeona from happening to the Amalthea and the rest of the Vanguard. I feel, though, that the captains are keeping something up their sleeves. In somewhat good news, Lieutenant Commander Havoc of the Adeona has brought with them a mountain of data on the usage of something called a graviton catapult. I have no idea what this is. But this was apparently encountered by the USS Voyager. If this works, this could get the entire Gamma Vanguard home. I believe Captain Murthrin is waiting on approval from Command before we try this. Though, like a bad plate of gok, this isn't sitting well with me. Something isn't right. End log.
Alright. And, because I want to give Murthrin a few minutes to show up, I think he's just running late, we're actually not going to cut immediately to the captain's roundtable. We are actually going to cut to another place entirely. I just have to find the map. But in short, what has happened is that one Havoc and, let's see, well, Locke isn't here, but Locke will be present. But Havoc and Locke have called together a meeting of the minds across the entire fleet. And it's basically to discuss the ability to use the graviton catapult and what that might entail. So I'm going to just put us on Theater of the Mind because I can't really seem to find the map I had in mind. But again, Havoc, you're there. Locke is there. And then anybody else who is a science character or has any science leanings, you are free to be here as well. So just let me know if you want to be here, and I will go ahead and put your token in the Theater of the Mind.
I think Freepak would be there. You need an engineer to build everything.
Fair. All right, so I've got Freepak here. I will have Havoc there momentarily. I just got to find where What folder I put them in? Right, there's
It's also
Havoc.
got a decent science score at 4, so...
I was thinking the same thing with Cranston, and my science is also 4.
All right, Cranston's there.
Freer has a science of 4 as well, so having his background in there too.
All right, Preer will be here.
Would this
All the
meeting be
tokens.
would this meeting be taking place before or after the captain's roundtable?
This will be taking place during the Captain's Roundtable. We're going to have an A plot and a B plot today. So,
In that case, Morgan can't be in 2 places at once.
I mean, unless you quantumly duplicate yourself.
We just need another temporal problem. I'm sure if we wait long enough, that'll happen.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I think we could find a neutron star somewhere close by.
Hey, you know. Spencer, would Densho be there?
Yeah, Densho would definitely be there.
Okay. All right, am I missing anyone? Oh, Mirthrin says he will be here shortly. Or at least he was here in Roll20.
Also, don't forget Locke's token.
Oh, yes, right. I knew I was forgetting Locke. So what we'll say is we'll say that Locke and Zenixia will be here as well.
Sounds good.
Okay, all right. So, again, to set the scene, so Havoc, you have been reviewing your data, what you brought with you from the Adiona about the Graviton Catapult. Due to temporal shenanigans, let's just go ahead and say that you are aware of what goes into the construction of one of these things, and you are discussing whether or not this could be adapted for the Gamma Vanguard. So I'm going to let you guys take it away.
Alright, so I begin drawing a very, very crude image of what it should look like. So you see right here, this little piece, I just begin circling it, is the power source, and with enough power put to that, it will create a gravitonic push, basically slingshotting your ship as far as you want it to go. Though, depending on how much damage your ship has taken, you may or may not lose a few pieces. Any questions?
It seems to me like you're going to have to reinforce your structural integrity field by, quite a magnitude to survive that kind of acceleration. Are you going into warp before this?
When we did on the Adiona, we did not actually have to go into warp. And the Adiona didn't need any upgrades.
Without a warp field around you, you're basically just flying through space the old-fashioned way. From what I understand.
Well, I think that's what Commander Havoc is trying to say, is that whatever this power supply is going to propel us by force, not by creating a warp bubble and slipping through space. It's just going to be that initial inertia to get us going, and then get us where we want to go?
Exactly. Think of it like a big old railgun.
Locke actually speaks up and says, well, actually, it's rather interesting. We wouldn't be using normal space for this. The way it works is it sort of shunts the vessel into null space, where we wouldn't really have to worry about needing a constant warp field to protect us.
Basically. I've only been able to I've only overseen the construction of only one of these, and I only got most of the information after we fired.
And did y'all make this catapult, or was it somebody else's design?
I tapped my head wondering, should I actually tell them? It was another person's design.
So there's no practical Starfleet engineering behind this.
No, it was made by a species that was able to use neutronium to make ships.
This power supply, what exactly does it use? What's the chances of this thing burning out?
I actually forget, what was the thing that was used for EGM?
Well, I'll answer in character via Locke. Locke says, well, I've looked at the data, and I've compared it to what we have on record with the Voyager. the Voyager did sort of work on a smaller version of the catapult that we would need here, and it was able to transport them. Well, not transport, but it was able to fling them rather closer to home. I believe the final count was something like 10,000 light years, and even if that's as far as we can get on one catapult, that's we could potentially just build a series of them if that was the case. But I think with enough power, we could get all the way home.
Also, don't forget, theirs was a smaller version. We're talking big.
Well, I mean, and Cranston looked at Freepuck. I mean, it's going to have to be huge to get the Amalthea moving, right?
Most assuredly, it's going to have to be huge. But the question still stands: what exactly does this thing run on?
So, again, because Locke is a convenient narrative tool today, he says, it's something very similar to our warp engines. If you are familiar with a resonance cascade, what we do is we more or less redline a core and shunt all of the power that would be going to a warp field, a warp bubble. And we shunt that through emitter arrays that then envelop the ship and launch the ship forward.
You're talking about redlining every ship in their fleet.
No.
Holy crap.
It would not be the ships that would be doing this. This would be the catapult that is doing this.
All right. Still, that's a pretty big risk there. I can build you something that does it. It's going to be dirty, but...
Understand, this is not the most scientific piece of machinery in the galaxy. It's, for lack of better words, a literal catapult. We're literally going to be using it to launch ourselves at high speeds. So...
Well, you're barking up the right tree here, because, believe me, I'm used to using non-traditional Starfleet methods to get jobs done.
I mean, I know you want to design the scientific department.
Point of order, it's technically not catapulting things, it's catapulting the space around the things, just to be clear.
Yes.
But, I mean, my point was, I know you wanted the scientific department here, but between Freepuck and I mean, we can build it. You just need to tell us how to do it, or what we need.
What does it use as a power source?
Well, that's... I think what they're saying is we redline one ship's engines, which unfortunately I think that's going to mean the Amalthea. That's going to be the only one big enough. And then launch all of us closer to home?
Not quite. We would have to build a power core the size of the one on the Amalthea, though, if not larger.
Oh, Lord.
Where are we going to get the pieces for that? Because, I mean, what are we dealing with here? Trilithium? We're going to synthesize some of that?
I grin a little bit and say, well, we do have a ship that currently is not exactly in operable condition, though it will be sad to have to start ripping pieces out of it.
You want to salvage some of the Adiona?
I think that would be a smart idea to salvage a bit of the Adiona. We would want to bring it with us, though.
Man, if only we still had a Romulan Dederick's class ship that we could use and we didn't care if it got blown up. Oh, wait, let's blame the Klingons.
Wait.
A free package.
Wait. Is that ship completely destroyed, such as blown to bits?
You look out the window and there's a debris field.
Like literally, Cranston
some
points out the
metal.
window at a debris field, and he's like, well, I mean, it's right there.
Well, I think we just found our metal.
Yeah, well, that's just basics, but, I mean, and he, hands a pad to Cranston, he says, take a look at this. Just some rough calculations here, but if we can take the dilithium out of the Adiono's warp core, we can synthesize some trilithium, and that'll give us an even greater boost to this catapult.
You know, my fellow non-commissioned officer here is onto something. If we pull everything out of the Adiona and start using it to synthesize, we can make this work. I mean, between Freepuck and I mean, hell, we're probably the two best improvisers you're going to find anywhere around.
Chief Cranston.
Good. Now, I do want to make sure that we bring the Adiona along with us, because we don't want to leave it just floating around in space, a temporally compromised ship just floating around places asking for trouble later on.
Real quick, I think Purr had something to say.
Chief Cranston, could we utilize one of the 3 warp cores from the Ophion?
Are you sure you're not a part-time engineer, Doctor? That's not a bad idea. I mean, we do literally have 2 extra warp cores just sitting around on a ship. Though it's going to be a hard sell getting the captain to be okay with this.
Wait, why didn't you mention that before?
I mean...
Probably because he wants his ship to actually work.
I mean, it's the same reason that Freepok's not really going to volunteer that nice big old engine that he's got in the Amalthea to do anything.
Well, and also the Adiona's only got 2 crew members sitting around inside of it.
True. I mean, the Amalthea's got, what, 1,400? 1,500? Ophion's got, like, 200?
It's also a lot smaller tractor behind us, which is what I'm assuming we're going to have to do.
Or, you know, what about one of them big old shuttle bays you got? I mean, the Adiona's about the same size as one of the Castillos.
Darval's not going to like giving up space, but...
Well, Darval can just suck it up, because we're literally going to be making it so he can go back home.
Well, it's not my call. You're going to have to convince that stubborn Vulcan yourself. But, judging by these specs, we can get it built.
I think, I agree with Chief Freepok. I think between the 2 of us and our 2 engineer crews, we could probably get it done. I mean, we can get it.
I can probably increase your output by this thing by a magnitude. It won't have to be quite as big with that trilithium.
True. I mean, and I'll look to Havoc. I mean, we don't exactly know what the original one you encountered was powered with, do we?
Actually, we rebuilt it. And we basically just used the fuel from the Adiona to fuel it itself.
Huh. Like fuel from y'all's QSD or from your warp core?
I believe it was the warp core.
Huh.
You're talking about a lot of annihilation going on inside that matrix chamber. We're definitely gonna need to reinforce that field at least, Cranston.
Yeah.
I mean, to get all the ships moving at once.
Question: do we have a projector here?
You
projector?
Do, and actually, Hailong, who I forgot to put on in the starting, Hailong just sort of points at a projector which you could use, but says, "Well, ladies and gentlemen, I think something we're forgetting is that even if we have the fuel, we are lacking in just pure raw materials. Now, of course, I appreciate your crew drawing Havoc. No offense meant, but." If the napkin math is correct, we're talking about tearing apart almost an entire small moon to get the requisite materials.
Interesting.
Well, unfortunately, that is what we had to do the original time. We had to do a bit of strip mining. But give me a moment. I walk over to the projector and just hook myself up to actually just display a 3D image of the information I have finding locked in my head.
Mm-hmm.
Just so they can get a full look at it, as well as the information of what we had to do to build the original.
Neat trick, Havoc.
And yeah, I would say that looking at the schematic, you're all on the right track. Like you're thinking along the appropriate lines. It's just that sort of the concerns at this point are where are you pulling the fuel from, which I think you've decided to use the Adiona, and you have to also get the raw materials to construct the superstructure, and that's going to require again tearing apart the better part of a Class D moon.
Well,
and we don't have any spare.
With the wreckage of the Romulan ship and the deuterium we're getting from the Marissa, that gets us part of the way. But, well, I'm thinking, and it's not up to me, obviously, but there's a pretty handy source out there in the form of a drone fleet that wants to kill us.
My thought exactly.
You know, engineers think alike. I was thinking the exact same thing.
Now that I know about the drone fleets, do we have any way for us to upload information into the drone fleet?
I mean, we do have a couple of bits of technology. I think we've even got a couple of wrecked drones we could use.
What if we reconfigure the fleet to emit a cascading virus into the other drones? We could use them to mine other things.
You and me are thinking quite alike right there.
Now I'm just gonna put this out there, and my chief medical officer has run into this before. If the captains start thinking that these drones are and he'll air quote, sentient species, and getting them to do slave labor might be against, the Prime Directive. Though I'm on board with this, I think it's going to be a hard sell with the captains.
I shouldn't have a problem with that. I mean, their technology is quite low tech. I mean, it's lower tech than the Federation, even.
Moral uncertainty aside here. God, Cranston's accent is so infectious. Moral uncertainty aside here. I believe it's up to the captain and whether or not circumstances apply on breaking the Prime Directive. And considering the drones are pretty much out for our entire destruction, I think saving the crew of his fleet, kind of takes precedence here.
I do too, and ultimately it comes down to being Captain Murthrin's decision. But I think we're on to something, and we need to write this up and put it in a nice, pretty little bow as much as we can, and pitch it to him.
Yeah.
Also, can I see one of those drones?
I believe we've got one tied up at Starbase Alexandria.
No, that's the drone from the spine alien things.
No, we caught one when we first showed up to the Marissa. We also took one.
Yeah, there should be one on the Amalthea.
Yes, that one. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Did I hear spine alien things?
Yeah,
we got attacked by a fleet of flying vertebrate QSD ships.
What?
It's a long story, and I think we're best served to get to work, and he'll look at Freepock and just kind of look at Freepock and go, "This is why I don't work with science people.
They just like to talk.
I know. We've made the plan. Now let's build it.
It's all head theory. They just run it.
I was just asking for a little bit of context because I hear flying vertebrae, and I'm just like, what?
Don't worry. We are going to have plenty of time building this structure for us to talk while we work, if you can do that sort of thing.
And Zenixia will sort of come over to Cranston and having go, okay, so basically imagine a vertebrate spine.
He's going to face
give them the lowdown.
All right.
Do
Well,
you just have a point where I can just download the information?
Yeah. Well,
out of character, do you actually know what we're babbling about?
Nope, he has no idea.
Nope.
Which is
I have no idea.
I think it's great.
Let's do this in character then.
Well, as much as I hate to cut the scene short, we do have a little bit of a time crunch today. So we'll say that you guys spend the next 10, 15 minutes explaining to Havoc what's going on. But sort of to quote-unquote save Prier, you get a call that you are being required in sickbay because your, shall we say, friend from the Symbiose Commission has achieved what he believes to be a breakthrough with the Admiral.
Well, guys, I'm sorry to have to cut my time here short. You have fun. Call me if you need me.
All right.
Turn around, walk out.
Let you know if I get a paper cut.
Germ or Regener, and I just throw it at you.
All right, so we go to sickbay where Specialist Lyros and Mr. Skull, or is it Mrs. Skull in general, is there. And since Skull was the one who came up with this idea, I'm going to let him run it.
The Skull will politely ask that the... and I've completely just blanked on your character's, the security guy's name.
Drake.
Ask Drake to leave the office, as this is now going to be a trill. We're going to perform a trill ritual.
He he leaves quickly.
So, with the specialist and Skull and Priya in the office, Skull is going to drop the accent once again. I think this will be the first time Priya hears that accent drop.
Yes, it is.
Yes. Hello, Doctor.
I just have like a very quizzical look on my face. Changing accents, are we?
Well, the Tezzy Skull persona is not required for us for this particular operation. Long story short, I am Skull. Not Tezzy, not Barton, just Skull. As the specialist is not going to tell you, I am a special mutation of symbiote known as a coadjuvant, and I take a bit more of an active role in the host, or in the symbiotic relationship, let's say. And I found it far more an interesting experience to take on, how should we say, challenging hosts, ones that would typically be rejected by the Symbiosis Commission. And I just sort of nod at the specialist. After all, they are very strict in their hiring, or in their selection processes.
With good reason, I would think.
Oh yes, absolutely. There's not a lot of symbiotes, and if the general population knew how many of you could actually bond with us, that would be a problem, and one I happen to agree with. Anyways, to business. Barton was not very mentally well, and has already broken on one occasion, and I had to take command once before, which was quite an eye-opening experience for everyone involved. However, he recovered and did quite well, I must say. And he was close to another burnout, and so I felt it necessary to override the host and let the while I performed used some healing and let him recover, let's say. So, Doctor, if you and the specialist don't mind just setting up some candles and chanting and whatever, we'll just make up a name for the ceremony. It's not like anyone outside Trill Society knows what our ceremonies do.
You have a point.
Yeah. Barton is ready to come back, and I think he's... No, just pretend... If you wouldn't mind pretending that he's been in cryos, well... Just let him believe that Tezzy has taken over for a while. After all, I'm pretty sure that there's enough audio and visual recording that can back that up.
Oh, yes.
Leros just subtly hides a pad that has a recording of Tezzy doing opera.
It'll be good to have Barton back, although we'll see you around, I'm sure.
I hope not. This is a very draining experience for me. Barton's mental defenses might not be as robust as he was. So don't be surprised if he comes back requiring some of that medication he was requiring back on the Ophion.
I'll make sure that I synthesize some right away.
Anyways, Doctor, Specialist, it's been a pleasure. I'm so glad that we have not had to resort to the poking and prodding of needles this time, Mr. LaRousse.
Well, of course, I think you know very well Mr. Skull, or I guess just Skull. You know very well the Symbiosis Commission's stance on, shall we say, your unique nature. And
yes.
Just know that as long as you perform admirably and you do not make a scene, again, your condition will not be known. However, and I say this not as a threat, but as a point of order, if we start to run into problems where it seems like you are more or less puppeteering or more or less disrupting the host in a extremely crucial situation, there may be some concerns we may have to bring to Starfleet.
Skull just looks at him and goes, "Oh, the Symbiosis Commission would... Oh, I'm sure Starfleet would love to hear all about the Symbiosis Commissions. However, I suspect that the prohibitions on breeding are fine enough to keep me from causing too much havoc. Besides, it's kind of fun to see the universe. Let's see where we go next." And on that, Skull will sit down, lie down, and close his eyes. And after a time of random chanting and scented candles and whatnot, he'll wake up again and go, "I have this killer headache. What the... Doctor?"
Hello, welcome back.
How long have I been out?
Several weeks. You were in cryostasis. Then there was some errors with the cryostasis because we got slingshotted as a ship, and when we were able to recover you, Tezzy decided that she was going to make an appearance, so we were just able to perform the ceremony to get you back the way you're supposed to be.
Well, that's... okay. Oh, I remember you. You were at the Symbiosis Commission. What was it, LaCroix?
Specialist
Close.
Leros.
Leros.
Oh, sorry. Okay, Doctor, 3 orders of business. First, find me a uniform. Second, find me my attaché. I'm not sure where she's gone off to. And third, I really do need to see my wife.
I will go make the appropriate phone calls and get you a uniform, sir. Glad to have you back.
I'd say it's good to be back, but I haven't read the reports yet.
They're not exactly great. Horrible. But not necessarily great.
Barton face palms. And that's a good way to end the scene.
Yep. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut to the conference room where the rest of the captains, including Commander Morgan, are meeting. And both Cam and quote-unquote Skull will be joining about midway through. So Skull will be given a brief, a quick rundown, a TLDR from Cam to get him so that he can come into this meeting. But to the knowledge of everyone at this meeting, Skull is still being dealt with. So I'm going to let you guys roleplay for a little bit, and then about a few minutes in, I will introduce Cam and Skull into the scene. So for the captains, you all have just been debating and hearing what Andromeda has had to say. And since Jester is not here today, anyone who does not have a character at the table may roleplay Captain Sim. So I believe that falls to one of our guest characters, because I think... No, let's see. So Prier is Tuzon, Panek is Panek, Beckett is Beckett, Morgan is Morgan, Murthrin is Murthrin. So yeah, unless I'm incapable of counting, I think that just means that Soup, you may play Captain Sim. Or Spencer, you can play Captain Sim, whichever one of you would prefer. But to sort of do a long story short, Andromeda, mid-sentence says, "And that is why I am now here. Again, we are looking not just for temporal explosives, although that is a primary concern. We are looking for any sort of temporal displacement or any sort of temporal rupture that could more or less interact with a warp core or any powerful piece of technology that would lead to the destruction of the ship. Now, I do have modifications that can be made to scanners and handheld devices like tricorders. However, the problem is that we cannot use the greater ship sensors to do it. No offense to all of you, Captain, and she motions at everyone, but none of your ships have, shall we say, sensors with enough fidelity to really narrow down what would be required. And again, no offense to you, Captain Panek, but the Ophion's chronoton sensors would just cause more background radiation that would be confusing than would be helpful.
I will order Commander Locke to take them offline.
Okay.
Well, if that's the order of things, I believe it's prudent for me to mention that during the Aediona's adventures in the Andromeda Galaxy, during one prior temporal incursion, we ended up receiving an extra shuttle from a prior duplicate timeline. So currently on the Aediona, we do have 2 shuttles along with one of our fighters. If that could be modified in any way, since it's already gone through a temporal incursion in the past, to be able to better scan for, this temporal bomb, so to speak, then I'm all for it.
I think you might be onto something here. In fact, I'm already breaching...
At the very least, we could probably use it as a sort of a sounding board of sorts.
Exactly, and I want to be very clear here. I'm breaking almost every rule in the book by even having this meeting with all of you, but the situation is so great that I believe the Temporal Integrity Commission will just have to suck it up and deal with it. Long story short, Commander Morgan, I believe this second shuttle, as I suppose we should call it, this second shuttle was the vector for how this original agent, or agents, I'm not really sure, managed to plant the temporal explosive on the Aediona in the first place.
That wouldn't necessarily surprise me during the course of our adventures. And because of the manner in which we acquired it, we haven't necessarily been using it, although it has been nice to have a spare. But it's possible that, it's our security, or at least our foresight, might have been a little bit lax.
Speaking of security, Captain,
I don't suppose anyone came with the shuttle?
No. Yes, in a manner of speaking. Commander Morgan kind of looks to the rest of the captains and kind of decides to fish up, considering the situation. The shuttle was sent by ourselves, and on it contained our emergency science officer. He was warning us, and, to the best of his ability, while also trying to keep the ideals of the Temporal Prime Directive, to warn us about what happened, and what caused him to be floating in this derelict shuttle in the first place. The general idea was that years from now, from his point of view, from his timeline, the Aediona would have been caught in a conflict between protecting the Freya and the other species in the Andromeda Galaxy, and we suffered casualties.
And I'm assuming he didn't make it off. He didn't make it out when you made the jump.
No, I mean he had a time-sensitive mission, so at some point he was only there to be activated to give us all the information we would need to solve the current crisis. Afterwards, he reintegrated our regular science officer to stabilize his matrix, but all his future knowledge is lost.
I see. Well, to start at least.
In regards to security, Commodore, I believe it's time we initiate higher security levels and restrict all vulnerable systems of the fleet to command personnel and necessary individuals.
And it's then that in walks Rear Admiral Skull, Commander Cam, and Lieutenant Commander Drake. And Drake, you pretty much have been following Skull around, so you are up to date on what's been going on with Skull, and you're now in this meeting as well. So yes, you may talk to yourself as Beckett and Drake.
Miss Skull, what seems to be the problem?
Captain Murthrin, I am now Barton again.
Beckett hollers out, "Admiral on deck," and stands up.
Actually, Murthrin does as well and gives a salute.
Right, as you were. Okay, I'm obviously very new to this game, so for the time being, until this crisis is resolved, or he is incapacitated, Mirthrin still has operational command until I'm fully up to date. I've had about 5 minutes of a brief walking up here. I haven't had any alcohol in apparently 4 months. Well, sorry, 2 months. So, it's been a trip.
Beckett smirks and says, "We'll fix that part tonight."
I appreciate that. So, if I am understanding the situation correctly, we have a temporal mole on board. Let's find him or her.
There still exists the possibility that there is more than one.
Is there any way we can scan for this person like we're talking about scanning for this explosive device?
And this is Andromeda speaking. Andromeda says, again, the problem is that while the Lysithea sensors, we'll take the Lysithea for example, while the Lysithea sensors are rather advanced, they are not very high resolution, and that's the key here, is that you need a ship that is meant to scan down to the molecule and do it on a wide field in order to properly capture the tachyons that would be associated with such an event. Now, of course, you could use something like the Lysithea to get a general feel for if a certain ship in the fleet has any tachyons or any temporally charged particles surrounding it, but as I believe I've heard, the Ophion's going to light up like a Christmas tree.
Unfortunately, we've not been able to scrub the tachyons from our systems.
Now, would we, in that instance, using that example, would we be able to use those sensors to track down, let's say, obviously other than the Ophion, any persons or objects that are radiating that certain type of particle? Obviously, we can't get down to the molecule, but can we at least get, I don't know, like an area that's been saturated?
Yes, and I believe I have, again, violating everything the TIC stands for, but again, that's their problem at this point. I'm more concerned with the present. I can give you modifications that will hopefully allow you to at least pinpoint a series of decks. However, that said, I myself am going to show up. So anywhere that I have been, and I have tried to limit myself where I have been, but anywhere that I have been will show signs and could cloud any potential signs of this other intruder or intruders.
Well, you've only actually appeared on the Amalthea, correct?
That is correct. I have come through, I believe, your sickbay and then directly here.
So I do have a question on that then. Then is anyone else that has happened to travel in the manner that you did would also show up, correct?
That is the hope, yes.
Beckett will turn and look at Skull. Admiral, with your permission.
Do it.
So, there's currently 4 people... Yeah, Cam wasn't there. 4 people sitting at this table that would radiate that energy. Not counting yourself, Andromeda. The 4 of us, being Captain Panek, myself, Admiral Skull, and Commander Morgan. We have all been taken by I'm guessing, a version of your commission to handle a certain mission. I'm sure you already know this.
Actually, no. I have no knowledge of this, which tells me 2 things. One, that the nature of your mission was so crucial that the rest of us were not informed of it. And 2, it tells me that this is going to be even harder, because that means that anywhere that all of you 4 have been will also show signs of ambient background radiation.
Which is most of the fleet at this point, I'd imagine.
To make a note, and to unfortunately obfuscate more of our investigation, we are not wholly aware that the faction in which temporarily displaced us for that mission is in accord with the one Andromeda is working with.
And just sort of stops and puts his head in his hands. Oh, wait, it's even worse. Everyone who served on the Ophion crew. The planetoid? The Romulan hyperdrive experiment?
Oh, that's
Yes.
not fun.
No, that's a new. Beckett will kind of look around. Well, that's a new one on me.
Yes,
Come
the
again.
Romulans were testing a new form of warp drive powered by a deliberately destabilized singularity core. We were present for the test, and the Ophion, the shuttle malfunctioned, and the Ophion got thrown about 60-odd years into the future.
I believe it was closer to 80, Captain, but unfortunately he is correct. The Ophion was displaced into an alternate future timeline.
Beckett kind of sighs because, of course, Romulans.
Unfortunately so. However, back to my point. We know very little of Andromeda's supposed commission. Are we entirely sure that the group that displaced us is not aggressors to her faction? Or could be
Well-
the origin point of this mole?
In that case, Commander Morgan's going to speak up and just look straight at Andromeda, and he's going to just say, "So, you're Andromeda, but you're not my Andromeda."
Without trying to establish whatever you really can understand about temporal mechanics, let's just say I am the Andromeda you're familiar with. I simply come from a time farther into your future.
Alright, then, if that's the case, explain to the rest of the briefing crew exactly what happened during first contact with the MacLeod.
Very well. And I'm sure if I know Havoc, they're probably discussing right now with science heads and what is that term? Eggheads, that is the term. They are discussing with the eggheads about how to use the catapult technology. And before I go any further, I will say that again, normally I would put a stop to this as part of the TIC's mission, but again, I'm bending the rules, and the TIC can suck it.
There she...
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
She mentions the TIC again. However, we have no knowledge of this faction. And the group that displaced us was predominantly Starfleet commissioned. They at least led us to believe so.
Well, let me ask this before I start to go into answering Morgan's question. Do you know the name of the commanding officer that was involved with that mission?
Yes.
Yes, it was the
Wait,
Orion.
hold up. Before you answer that question, because at this point I'll just say out of character, Morgan's incredibly suspicious. He still wants to hear Andromeda's answer before we continue to volunteer any information.
Okay. So I think that's fair and says, all right, well, Andromeda says, I will assuage, at least I think that's how you say it, I will assuage Morgan's fears. During initial contact with the Muat, the people who were responsible for the neutronium ships and the graviton catapults, our first encounter with them meant that when we made first contact with them, they were a highly religious and a highly zealous, you know what I'm trying to say. Zealous, there you go. Zealous society that treated my species, the Dorni, as gods. My species, the Dorni, had sequestered the Muat away in a corner of the Andromeda Galaxy behind almost a barrier of neutronium stars in an attempt to save them from what my people believe to be a dying galaxy. Unfortunately, due to their zealous nature, and no offense, Commander Morgan, but shall we say misplays on the part of the Adiona's crew, a crisis broke out that was surely going to lead to not only the Adiona and her crew being captured, killed, and or tortured, but a breakout of this zealous species across the entire Andromeda Galaxy, leading not only to a sort of conquering faction, which would be almost unstoppable due to their neutronium ships, but would more than likely lead to the same thing happening with the Milky Way. Now, this next part gets fuzzy, so Morgan, you are free to correct me, but Morgan was then approached by a Q, I believe the same Q that this fleet is intimately familiar with, and given an option. And that option was to go back in time and prevent the Muat from becoming the zealous zealots, to coin a phrase, from basically becoming what they were, and so that when the Adiona came around again, it would be on much better terms. And to my knowledge, that mission succeeded. I still don't know why Q did it, but the fact remains that Q did. Does that answer your question?
We'll raise an eyebrow and look at Commander Morgan. That is quite a breach of the Prime Directive, Commander. You have influenced and changed the development of another spacefaring civilization.
While true, and I don't necessarily deny Andromeda's recollection of the situation, there is more details into account that she did forget. But regardless of the circumstances, and regardless of whatever happened with the Muat, my primary concern at the moment is exactly the veracity of the information that's at this table right now.
Regardless of the veracity of Andromeda's recollections here and her faction's allegiance, we have seen the immediate effects of this temporal bomb, and I, for one, would like to prevent this from happening to the rest of the fleet. Now, while our sensors may only limit us to a certain amount, I think Commander Drake here, I may have a suggestion.
Go ahead, Captain.
I believe you would call it an old-fashioned manhunt. Any agent purposely here would try to cover their trail as much as possible, would leave small anomalies. If you begin doing searches for personnel, both civilian and Starfleet, we would be looking for someone out of place who does not quite belong here. It is an antiquated method, however, I believe it would be effective in helping, along with the sensors and narrowing, exactly who we're looking for.
And I think I know just who to talk to.
I completely agree. I was hoping that this talk of sensors would narrow it down to where, when I start ransacking decks of ships, that I at least have a smaller number of them to do instead of trying to do this floating city.
Would it
Well,
be
I might be able to help with that bit. In the meantime, though, it's going to take us a while to get this graviton catapult set up. So the question is,
Martin?
Yep, sorry, got distracted.
It sounded like you dropped from Discord, that's all.
I stopped talking mid-sentence to read what Morgan was saying, then started replying, and then forgot I was talking. Where was I? Out of character. I was about to suggest something. Yes. So, are we going to do the searching for the mole before we go blow up caretakers, or
Wait,
We're blowing up caretakers?
Wait, what are we blowing up now?
Yeah, because the no, are we still waiting on the graviton?
No, yeah, that meeting has they have not sent their representative to tell you about that.
Okay, so we don't know anything about that at all. Cool. Well, in that case, we're just focused on the manhunt.
This graviton sled, I believe you've called it, proposes other issues, Commander. Should we enact it and build it and move the fleet, what are we to do with the Marissa and the other stragglers? We've built a permanent installation here within Starbase Alexandria. What do we do with those personnel and the technology we leave behind for the Marissa to use?
Well, I don't think we should completely abandon the sector of space entirely, but at the very least, I would like the opportunity for the civilian population of the Amalthea to get home.
And Cam just very patiently in the back sort of raises her hand.
Commander?
Yes, Commander?
Wow, Cam, I've never seen you show restraint in talking to people above your rank.
Well, given the serious nature of this meeting, I figured my usual flippant humor would not go over well. However, I would simply observe that if it is possible to build a gate that sends us one way, what's to stop us from building one that sends us back when we get home?
This is, of course, assuming that this catapult indeed works.
Yes, there are a lot of assumptions here, but let's say for the instance that, it works. We get home. We could just build another catapult, and since, to my knowledge, the Bajoran wormhole is more or less sealed to anything but the smallest of ships, this could potentially reopen up the Gamma Quadrant for study.
I believe that we're getting off track. Let's find the potential fleet-destroying event before we talk about getting the fleet home, shall we?
Yes. Let's start with a full. Let's start with a full sweeper investigation of the fleet. I'm happy to let each captain coordinate the efforts on their own ship. I, meanwhile, have someone I need to go talk to.
Before you call the meeting adjourned, Commodore, I'd like to put forth that if we are indeed leaving on the catapult, we need to strip Starbase Alexandria of all relevant technology that would influence Marissa. Replicators, transporters, anything that is above their technology level.
We've already kind of influenced them enough. I mean...
Exactly, which just means we should contain what we have done. How would it be if we gave this civilization replicator technology that would completely destabilize their economy and society as a whole?
I mean, from my brief, it sounds like we've already
This is
completely
definitely
destroyed
something we need to look at, but we can save that for when we're closer to completion on the catapult. For now,
at the same time, though, I don't mean to continuously drag this meeting on. But even considering the information and the knowledge that I have just given you, Captain, I still need to for the remainder of this operation, I do feel like it's still in our best interest, if I'm finally granted proper command codes, to be able to move amongst the fleet more easily and to contain proper security, to contain proper security matters that may occur, amongst with the rest of your fleet staff, would be a big help. If you can assign me a détaché of staff, whether it be from your captain's individual ships or the rest of the fleet, I would be most appreciative of that.
I have some flag officers that you can consider at your disposal.
I am reserved about assigning him command codes. Maybe restricted access. But Commander Morgan is, I believe the human term is, a bit of a wild card here. He has proven with his past actions to be reckless.
I mean, if it's an issue, honestly, if it's an issue about giving him command codes for the entire fleet, then I have a perfect solution for this.
That would be?
Commander Morgan, you're currently without a crew, correct? Oh,
yes, sure. I can see.
Wonderful. I have an opening as a second officer. You're hired. You're on the Lysithia.
Well, I'll accept that graciously.
A dubious proposal is befitting Beckett, of course.
Wonderful. I haven't lost my touch yet.
I can see that there hasn't been much that's changed in my absence.
Well, if Beckett is willing to vouch for you, that is good enough for me.
Works for me as well.
Commander Cam, please ensure that Andromeda has all time travel logs related to the Ophion and the Amalthea, just in case she can glean any information from them.
The Ophion will forfeit its logs, but I will restrict command access.
Of course, this is anything time related does not go beyond this room.
All right. So, with that meeting come to an end, we're going to start what could be a very long or a very short process. We are going to... Oh, go ahead.
As the meeting ends, I just want to meet with Skull. Just on the side. It's just nothing important. You don't have to drag us back.
Deal once that's done for me.
Okay. All right. We'll get to those sort of sub-scenes, but I did want to at least get us started on this because it is a rather involved extended task. All right, so the way this is going to break down is that scanning the fleet is going to be a very hard extended task. This is going to be a difficulty 5, magnitude 5 work track of 18, resistance of 2, extended task. In fact, this is, if you go by the book, this is the hardest extended task possible unless you start breaking sort of restrictions on how high the difficulty can go and how high resistance can go. So
to be fair, using underdeveloped technology to scan for fate temporal signatures on a fleet that is already contaminated with temporal shenanigans, it doesn't get much harder than that.
Correct. So that is why this is such a hard task, and why I deliberately did not start with any threat, because I do want, because right now we have no momentum on the table. So I did want to make it an option that you guys did not feel guilty or otherwise bad about needing to give me threat for dice. Now I will say there is a bit of a ticking clock here, as ironic as it is for me to say that. If you do not complete this extended task in a certain number of intervals, which I am keeping secret, then something will happen. Now what that something is, I'm going to leave to your imagination. Now, as far as the actual rolling is concerned, we will handle this in a kind of a hodgepodge of ways. The first is one person will take the lead, and it will be either a reason science, a reason engineering, or perhaps even a insight and con. And then another character may assist with that. Now, what you can also do is you can attempt to use the ships, so any one of the ships, even the Ophion if you really wanted to sort of scan the area at the same time. However, if any ship is assisting, the complication range will increase to an 18 to 20. So it is a source of additional dice rolling, but it is an increased complication. So that is those are the tools at your disposal. So anyone can be making these rolls. I'm going to let you guys decide who you want to lead on this, who you want to assist, and if you want any ships assisting.
Free Pock is, I'm just going to take him out of the running. He's not got focuses to help with this.
I think Densho could possibly do something. She has a reason science of 17, and then she has focuses in chronological anomalies and quantum mechanics.
She seems perfect for this.
And if it's an extended task, so I have to throw my hat in. Cranston reason engineering is a 16. I also have spirited discovery, so we start with 3 momentum.
Oh, that is nice.
But the problem is I don't think I have an applicable focus unless I count.
Go ahead.
Unless I count improvisation.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's a bit of a stretch in this situation.
I'm trying to think too.
Do the rules on like rolling to create a situational advantage apply to extended tasks in any way?
They can, but it would still be a difficulty 5 to establish the advantage in the first place. Now, of course, if you guys get momentum and spend 2 momentum to create the advantage, then no task will be involved.
The scene I was thinking of doing might actually play into this.
Okay.
And I was going to ask, can we gain an advantage by giving you by spending? Oh, hold on. I was looking at my other medal. For an immediate momentum spend of any kind by adding to threat. If I give you threat as if it was momentum to make an advantage, would the Starfleet citation for conspicuous gallantry go into effect? The wording on it says, once per mission when the character pays for an immediate momentum spend of any kind, by adding to threat, they may roll 1 challenge die per point of threat added. For each effect rolled, 1 of the points just added to threat is removed immediately.
I will say yes, you can do that, and if you want to, if I understand your intentions correctly, if you want to spend what is essentially 2 threat to create an advantage, I will allow it. But again, you would have to roll to see if I get that threat.
I'm absolutely okay with that being that's exactly how that works.
Okay.
As far as the medal goes.
So as you're rolling, what would be the advantage that you are creating? And of course, others, if you've got good ideas for advantages, please feel free.
Let's see. Could he somehow? Let's see. If he were to if he were to somehow create an overlay to tachyon to the whatever radiation he's scanning for, say, and we're looking for some sort of a tachyon or chronoton, right?
You're looking for what are essentially decaying tachyons, possibly even solanogen deposits, as well as chronotons.
All right. If we're looking to possibly, if we could somehow flood the ships with some sort of gas that would bond to tachyons or somehow cause them to shine like a beacon, then that would be a good advantage.
Sort of case of we can't detect the tachyons themselves, but we can detect the things they're bonding to.
Precisely.
Yeah, I will say. Oh, go ahead.
So, Andromeda is out of our time. Is from out of our time stream. If I can get a full scan of using OOC knowledge that she's wearing a suit of how those temporal tachyons, whatever we're calling them, are bonded to her suit to make it to where she can travel in time, and looking for basically whatever the element or the bonding molecule is, and then searching for that.
All right, I like these ideas. So I will say this. You can give me the 2 threat. You will have the advantage. However, this is only going to apply for the very first roll you do of this extended task. So the difficulty would go down to a 4 temporarily, but it's still a difficulty 4 task.
Okay. And obviously, the fact that I'm a chief engineer, that's not going to lower it. The difficulty, correct?
No. So unfortunately, your engineering department, as much as it usually gives you a way to lower difficulty, it does not, because well, let me put it this way. It would work for the Ophion, because you are the Ophion's chief engineer, but for other ships, you need those chief engineers to do the task, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, that's understandable. That's why I figured it wasn't going to work.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess then, Densho, are you taking the lead or am I? And if I'm not the lead, do things like Miracle Worker and In Nick of Time still count?
Yes, so well, let me say this. If the way I've read the talents, because I looked at them last night to try to make sure I was doing this right, an assisting character with talents like Miracle Worker and In Nick of Time does not apply those talents to rolls they assist on, unfortunately. They have to be the ones rolling the work track dice.
Okay, so I have to be the lead for both of them to work.
Correct. And again, the challenge here is that Densho is literally either rolling successes or a complication, but they also have a focus here, which could get you a ton of momentum.
Densho doesn't happen to have Miracle Worker or In Nick of Time, either one, does he?
She does not, no.
So yeah, that is kind of the situation you have to decide between which is more important, the potential momentum and extra successes, or is Miracle Worker and In Nick of Time more important?
I feel like we could have Densho lead first, and depending on what happens, we can have Cranston lead next one, if that works with you.
Sounds like a plan.
All right.
Then I guess we will start the whole thing by giving you 2 points of threat, and then me rolling to see if we can get those back.
All right, go ahead and roll those 2 challenge die.
And nope.
Nope. All right, so I have 2 threat at the moment.
Okay. So you said reason science?
Yep.
Okay. And is it difficulty 4 now, or is it still difficulty 5?
It is difficulty 4 for this first attempt.
Okay.
Yeah, let's just see how this one goes before I dump momentum.
I want to spend Densho's point of determination here.
Okay, what value are you calling into play?
Every problem has a solution.
Sure.
All right.
So that'll start you with 2 free successes.
Yep.
And I
And
get us nothing.
do we feel like giving him 2 threat to get a 3rd dice here is probably pretty important?
I'm all for that.
I would too.
Probably.
Alrighty. I'll give you 2 threat for the 3rd dice.
All right, I'm up to 4.
Let's see where we go.
Nice.
Wow.
Nice. 3 crits.
So,
Oh boy.
I just want to say that, again, this is kind of why I was hoping you guys would pick Densho, because that is a total of 8 successes. So you get 4 momentum from that roll.
Great, googly moogly.
All right, so Densho, I now need you to roll me 7 challenge dice, please, to represent how much work you get done.
Alright. You guys mind if I spend a momentum to get that? Can I spend momentum for resistance? Like,
yes,
for
it is
piercing or
1
whatever?
point of momentum to get rid of 2 resistance.
Okay, so that will just get rid of all the
Absolutely.
resistance then. Yeah.
Mhm.
So let's do that. And 7 challenge dice.
Nice.
Oh boy.
Jesus. All right, so... wow.
This is your wheelhouse, man.
Yeah, this is...
Bloody hell.
she was made for this. So that's 12 work done. That is a breakthrough. So the difficulty goes down permanently to a 4. And because you succeeded so well, I'm actually going to give you 2 pieces of information for this. And the way this is going to work is that for every time you guys get a breakthrough, I'm either going to eliminate or give you a specific area to focus on. So the first thing that I can confirm for you is that the Lysithea is clean. The Lysithea is completely clean. You don't have to worry about the Lysithea. However, you do pinpoint a specific area on the Amalthea, and that area, is the main shuttle bay. And if you give me a point of momentum, I will tell you exactly where in the shuttle bay.
Yeah,
Go
we
ahead.
probably need to figure this out. Yeah.
I was gonna say, go ahead and do it because I still have my spirit of
I'm back.
discovery, so I can dump 3 more. I can give us 3 more momentum when we need it.
Okay.
Alrighty. Sounds good.
So Densho, and we'll say obviously, this is not just these 2 characters that are working on this. It is literally the entire fleet's resources working on this. So people can jump in as other characters as needed. I've just put these 2 on the screen so that, I'm keeping track of it. So either Densho or one of the other teams, as you're going through the main shuttle bay of the Amalthea, you of course, you go up and down, you scan each fighter, each pod, each runabout, and one of the runabouts is pinging like a hot plate. It is almost covered in the sort of particles you were looking for.
Can I, when we find this out, can I talk to myself for a second?
You may certainly talk to yourself.
Cranston hits his comm badge. Chief Cranston to Lieutenant Commander Drake. Drake will answer. Main shuttle bay on the Amalthea. Just run it. Drake will respond, and then start getting teams of Marines together, as well as any of the other command staff from the Amalthea to go to the shuttle bay.
Okay. And we'll say that Drake, as he does this, I'm going to give this to you free because you've got so much work done. You know that this is specifically the runabouts that the Bajorans tried to take.
Mother effers.
Bloody Vedics!
I'm gonna kill me some Vedics. I'm already not allowed on that planet. Might as well make it forever.
All right, so that's what you guys get for this first roll. Now, we're going to do another roll, and depending on how many successes you get, we will either continue the roll or we will move to plot B, where the science people are giving, or the engineering people are bringing to the attention of Murthrin and the rest of the captains their plans for the catapult. So let's see how this next roll pans out. So the difficulty has gone down to difficulty 4 permanently, but it is still difficulty 4, resistance 2, and you've got 6 more work on the work track before you start getting mega successes.
Alrighty. Do you want to go ahead and take the lead on this, Cranston, or do you want Densho to keep going?
I Honestly, it doesn't matter either way.
Okay.
If I would have gotten the roll you just got, we'd have 3 work done on it out of the, or I mean, we'd be down. I would have gotten 3 breakthroughs. So I think right now you're rolling hot. So why don't we just stick with you doing it? If
Alrighty.
dice turn against you, then we'll swap.
All right, sounds like a plan.
That's when you push him out in the airlock.
She's an android. She'll survive.
That's when I lock Densho in a closet somewhere for being a filthy Borg lover.
I mean, honestly, after this, we might give her a little bit more resources for her research if she does this so well.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Okay.
Right,
So same task, I'm assuming.
Yep.
I got us
same
1.
task.
Right. Sure, I'm doing the right stuff.
Sorry about that.
Reason, science. Yeah, I'll take a momentum for a 3rd dice. And yeah.
Ouch.
Okay, so this does mean that you only have 3 successes, and that is a complication.
But we can.
Yeah.
The problem is that Cranston cannot use his determination to re-roll this. However, because this usually doesn't come up, but it is important here, one of the captains can give Densho, because again, this is representing the entire fleet working on this, one of the captains can give their point of determination to Densho to then use for a reroll. But what I don't want to have happen is you guys spamming determination at Densho to give them the automatic free successes. So I will say, specifically for this extended task, the captains can only give the determination point after the roll has been made, so that they could re-roll if possible.
Okay.
I will give Jono's determination because he has a value of unity as strength.
Very good. So Densho, you have the
All right.
option of re-rolling as many of those dice as you see fit.
Let's just re-roll the complication, I think, because I don't want to take the chances of those successes becoming them.
Okay.
Exactly. And I mean, at worst, you don't get a success, but we don't get a complication. At worst.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, at worst, he rolls another complication, really.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I mean, we don't get any worse than we already are.
All right, see. So let me make sure this works out. I think 13. Okay, we're
That
good.
is enough.
That's 4 successes.
All right. So again, roll me 7 challenge die, and let's see how well you do on the work track.
Yep.
All right. Would you? So right now, that is already a breakthrough, even with resistance into effect. Would you like to spend that momentum you have remaining to get rid of the resistance?
Yeah, because we'll complete the work track that way, I think. So let's
Yes,
do
you
that.
would. And this means that you get 1 breakthrough for doing 5 work. You get another breakthrough because you have done and completed the work track, which means that any further work on the work track, no matter the value, will be an automatic breakthrough, which means that the difficulty is now a 2, and by now, you know, it's pretty trivial to finish it, but we're still going to do it because momentum could be important here. So, again, here's what you learn. The Red November and the Mei Yuan, completely clean. Don't have to worry about them. However, 2 new areas on the Amalthea have shown up. The first is the containment cell, where Commander Nostrine, the Tholian, is present. The other is sickbay.
Huh. Alright, well, just when we think we have the problem solved, 2 more areas pop up. I'll tap on my comm badge. Lieutenant Densho to Captain Murthrin.
Murthrin here.
It appears that there are 2 more areas on the Amalthea that have come up in our scans. The cell of Commander Nostrine and sickbay. So you might want to send more teams down there and get closer scans rather than what I'm getting here.
I'll see what I can do.
All right.
And actually, come to think of it, now might be good time to do what Methrin was sort of planning to do.
Yeah, sure. Just tell me, I'm guessing in your ready room, who are you meeting with?
Yep, in his ready room, he will be calling in Garrick.
In Garrick. Ah, Mr. Garrick.
I knew that's where this was going.
All right. So, chime at your door, and when you let him in steps Mr. Garrick. And he says, "Ah, Captain Murthrin, is this perhaps in regards to that suit of yours? I see that you've grown into it a little bit. Would you like me to tailor it for you?"
I'll save the tailoring for after, once I think I've earned it, and well, we're not quite there yet, but that is something you might be able to help me with.
Oh, well, of course. I am grateful to help in any way that I can indeed. What is it that you would ask of me?
Well, I'd like to take advantage of some of your, shall we say, previous job skills.
Ah, is this referring to my time as a Romulan gardener, perhaps?
Let's go with that. So, being Beta Z, I rely fairly heavily on my ability to tell what people's moods are in order to read them. Which works most of the time, but it's a problem when I'm dealing with a species that is not readable. Garrick, how do you feel about interrogating a Tholian?
Well, I simply will say that I've never had the pleasure of interrogating an Atholian, but honestly, the only real interrogation that I've done in my many years is unfortunately the one I had to do of a certain changeling. But if this is what you would ask of me, I would only ask for something in return.
Let's hear it.
Right now, I am not officially the Station Alexandria's civilian leader. Though it might be presumptuous of me, I would simply ask that become an official thing.
Murthrin will sort of consider it for a few seconds. This is acceptable.
Very well. Then, of course, I will be happy to interrogate this Tholian for you.
Specifically, we want to know, is he from this time?
An excellent question. Though, again, in my experience, the Tholians are, shall we say, not exactly time travelers themselves.
There's always a first.
Indeed, there is always a first. So, shall I get started immediately?
I will get your appointment as station commander written up while we wait.
Very good. And we'll cut back to the extended task. Alright, so, again, at this point, the difficulty is all of a 2. Any work you do will be a breakthrough, so if you do 5 work after accounting for resistance, you complete the extended task.
Cool. I don't know. I'd imagine I'd probably still be rolling for it, even though technically Garrick's doing the work.
If you want Garrick to interrogate Commander Nostrine, as much as I would love to talk to myself for an hour, I can roll for Garrick, because I actually have his quote-unquote official sheet.
We do have his sheet.
Yeah, I have his official sheet. I can roll for him if you would like me to. And he
I'm
even
okay
has a
with that.
focus in interrogation.
For some reason.
Mm-hmm.
I even have ideas of what to do if he needs an extra boost from determination.
But he's only done it once.
Yeah,
but he's got a focus in it.
Only done it once.
Well, you know
To be fair, he was Obsidian Order.
and he's had to deal with so many difficult clients at his time while he was a tailor. So,
all right. So let me just make
what
sure.
is customer service if not interrogation disguised as friendly conversation?
All right, so just to make sure everyone's on board, I am rolling for Garrick here, and if Garrick succeeds, he will then roll the work track, and we'll go from there. That sound fair to everyone?
You?
mm-hmm.
Sure.
All right, so he is going to be rolling a presence security, and he has a 17 in that.
Oh, Lord.
I wouldn't expect any less.
All right, well, Garrick gets you the 2 successes you need. So, I'm now going to roll 7 challenge dice. Well, I don't have to even spend anything because that completes the extended task. So, here's what happens, and it's going to be several things happening at once. So, I'll get to Garrick in a moment, but here's what else you find. So, you are able to, even with the extreme contamination of the Ophion is cleared. Now, of course, there's some concerns about what the hell's going on with a certain replicator and the captain's ready room, but after some deep, detailed scanning, you're pretty sure that that's just technical gremlins and/or leftovers from when Skull was in charge. But there are 2 more areas that appear on the Amalthea before I get to Garrick. The first is Murthrin's ready room. The second is Deck 11 of the Amalthea.
That sounds familiar.
If you give me a point of threat, since there is no momentum on the table, I will tell you what is important about Deck 11.
Isn't that... I'll shut up.
I mean, if you know, go ahead.
Isn't that the deck where all the wonky shit happened with Jensen?
No,
I think that was 9.
That was
I think that
9.
was deck 5.
It was either 9 or 5. Either way, I
It was
did
a single
check.
deck.
Yeah, I did check. It is not the same deck as Jensen.
Okay.
But good thought. So it's more or less if you feel that the threat spend to know what is important about Deck 11 is important. Actually, you know what? Let's do it this way, because there's no momentum on the table. Drake, since, you're running security for this op, let's have Drake roll an Insight and Security difficulty 1.
Okay. Focus in investigation.
Yes. All right, that's all you need. Drake, probably what you were suspecting. Deck 11 is where most of the Bajoran contingency is stationed and or quartered.
Got it. Drake will come up to Captain Murthrin. Lieutenant Commander Drake to Captain Murthrin.
Murthrin here.
So, with this information that that Garrick got us.
No, I haven't gotten to the Garrick part yet.
Oh,
but feel
okay,
free to continue talking.
Then let me back that up a little bit. From the information that the scanning crew is giving us, I'm kind of getting a pattern. First into the shuttle bay, specifically the runabout that the Bajoran pilgrims had stolen, and now we're getting a bunch of it on Deck 11, where most of the Bajoran civilians are. Are you also sensing the same pattern I am?
I wish that I wasn't.
I would say at this point, let's not lock down every Bajoran that we know, but let's grab that one specific one.
And it is at that exact same time during this conversation, Murthrin, you are getting a call from Mr. Garrick.
One moment. Garrick?
Ah, yes, Captain Murthrin. I have news. I would not qualify it as good news, but news nonetheless.
Continue.
Well, are you familiar with a certain Vedic?
I think I know where this is going.
Well, this, shall we say, lovely Tholian, has told me that the Vedic was responsible for how he broke out of containment in the first place.
Thank you very much, Mr. Garrick.
Of course. Now, I will say that, unfortunately, the Tholian involved was very resilient. I have done my best to keep them alive through all this, of course. I have my professional reputation to keep on the line. However, if you know of anyone that is, shall we say, specialized in Tholian biology, you may wish to send them at your earliest convenience.
I'll get to that. And I'll sort of tap off the comm.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I forget who am I talking to? Is it's
Drake.
Drake. Right? Drake. Drake, send your men out. We have a Vedic to arrest.
Aye, Captain. Moving there now.
All right, so where are you specifically going? Well, let me do it this way.
Well,
Go ahead.
I was going to say I'm going to try the normal Trek thing because I forget that our ship is a flying giant supercomputer, and ask the computer where the current whereabouts of the Vedic is.
And that is pretty much what I was going to ask. So yes, the computer replies, Vedic Parabe is not present on the Amalthea.
Huh.
And since we'll say that this conversation with Murthrin happened on the bridge, Ensign Hamasi will start doing her own rolls here. Let's have someone roll for Hamasi so that I don't do it. Hamasi will be rolling a reason and science in her case, and her difficulty here is a 0.
I can do Hamasi.
And Amalthea will assist with a sensor's security.
So now I know you don't have to burn a determination if you've already got determination available, but this is a situation where I think changing one of Murthrin's values would actually apply.
Mm-hmm. And I would say that you would then have 2 points of determination to spend at your leisure.
Because we do definitely want to find him before he does anything bad. So, you know what? Let's start by spending a determination to give her 2 guaranteed successes.
Okay.
Let's...
And then, just remember that challenging the value means you do cross it out and replace it later. But with those 2 free successes, Hamasi will get 2 momentum for you guys. And Hamasi will sort of look at the reading and says, Captain, you're not going to like this.
Where is he?
He's in the Marissa throne room.
Get a security team together, beam us down there.
Yeah, Drake. If Drake's on the bridge talking to Murthrin originally, then I'm going with him.
Okay. So this is going to be very important. I need to know who specifically is going down to the planet. Drake, you're going. Murthrin is going, okay? So where
I still got that one floating determination.
You do. All right. Where is Drake? There he is. All right. So Drake is going. Murthrin is going. Who else is going? Now, normally, unfortunately, because Jester is not here, we can't have our lovable Horta go. But we'll say that they are handling security for the rest of the fleet, making sure that there's no other Bajorans that are involved. So I've got those 2. And I kind of want to have people present for this scene, so if anyone has any character they would like to be present, please speak up and let me know.
Considering the situation, it's probably best that Morgan is along for the
I imagine Morgan would probably, even if we didn't bring him along with us, he'd probably just beam down on his own.
Yeah. Darval would volunteer to fly the shuttle.
Okay.
And you check your Discord.
I'm checking my Discord.
Just to balance things out and provide, the voice of reason here, Panek will come down.
And to answer your question, Walter, I'll let you know. I will say this is the moment.
Okay.
So Panek is coming down. I believe that leaves Prier and any of our guests that do not have a character in this scene at the moment.
I'll take Prier, although he's not that great in a fight.
Okay. So Prier's going as well. And then would any of the guests like to come along? So I believe that is either Soup or Havoc, or if Densho would like to come along. Now, you guys don't have to play your particular characters. You could bring along one of the supporting characters of the entire crew.
Zeb is always fun.
I think I'll actually have Havoc go down there.
Okay, so Havoc will come down as well.
She's left the plan. She's uploaded the plans so that the engineering crew of the ships can analyze and access and figure out more ideas.
Okay.
I'll take a security officer. I'm not sure I want to take Densho per se. I'm not sure who to take.
Well, there's many options available to you in the security department. Shatsu is a good one. She's usually very handy in a firefight. There's also Shrika.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll take Shatsu.
Shatsu making an appearance. Good for her. All right. So, in sort of almost like an explosion of activity, the group of you rush to the shuttle bay to get onto a runabout. Darval doesn't almost even wait for the full hatch of the runabout to close before he starts to spin it up and start flying the runabout out into space and down towards the planet. Once you guys almost burn yourselves out, just screaming through the atmosphere down into the planet, you don't even do like the typical, slow dive in the ocean. You trust the in full structural capability of the runabout to hold together. As Darval, you plunge the ship or the runabout into the water and make a beeline for the Marissa throne room. And
I have to.
Oh, go ahead.
I have to say it because we haven't brought it up the entire first season. Drake pats Darval on the shoulder and goes, "Come on, beefsteak, get us down there."
So, beefsteak.
Commander, may I remind you that nickname is used primarily between fighter pilots, and I've given up the role of fighter pilot. However, I believe that this is the closest that I will be to a fighter pilot in a while. So, buckle up, kick the tires, light the flyers, go.
Yep. So, you guys swoop in, and if you remember, the Marissa throne room is set up so that it is almost like a bubble, so that you kind of go under and then up into air, so that it is then surrounded by water. And your runabout floats on top of the water, and you all disembark into the following scene. Now, I didn't want to put...
Imagine we have like a dramatic, like it breaches up out of the water because we're in a hurry.
Yep. So, as you guys begin to pile out, and I think I've got to zoom out even further so that the Twitch thing can see. So hopefully you guys can kind of see what's going on here. So what you see is not exactly a pleasant sight. Again, I have not put tokens for them, but there are at least a dozen Marissa honor guards that are lying either unconscious, injured, or possibly dead in between you and where Vedic Parabe has Queen Morwenna as a hostage. And that is where we're going to take our 10-minute break. So, if you guys could be back no later than 5 after the hour. And yeah, BRB. All right, so welcome back everyone from break. To sort of set the scene even further, the Marissa throne room, again, is almost like a bubble of air. Everything around this sort of shell-like, otherwise aquatic-themed platform, everything around it is water. In fact, let me see if I can use special effects here. So all of this, well, it's not showing up on screen, but at least you guys will see it. So all of this around is water. This is all water. And then each of the actual platform itself has 3 distinct tiers. The Queen and Parabe are on the very top tier. Then the second one is where most of the Marissa bodies are. And then the bottom one, there are 2 Marissa bodies there as well. Each one of these tiers has a staircase up. You could climb up the tier, just, foregoing the stairs entirely. However, it would take basically your entire movement to do so. Again, for those who might be joining after the break and aren't aware, the away team, such as it is, has has flown in, as Vedic Parabe has been discovered to be holding Queen Morwenna hostage. And I'm going to let you guys act first, because we are not technically in initiative order, but I will put us in initiative order if and when required.
Yeah, so... yes, I think we were discussing, would you be okay with us retconning that we brought Type 3 phaser rifles with us?
I would say yes, but that would be a threat spend.
Right, so just to double check everyone's okay with that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It might be a good idea.
Type 3 phaser rifles it is.
Alright, so then by my count, I currently have 8 threat. Just so everyone knows. Alright, so all of you have Type 3s. But yes, this is the scene. Oh, yes.
Actually, I prefer to go unarmed.
Go unarmed. Okay. Well, I mean, it's a spend for everyone. It's not just individual spends. It's just everyone can get one. So yeah, this is the scene you find yourselves in. You're not quite able to make out what Parabe is saying to the Queen at the moment from this distance, but this is what you see.
Now, I think Merthrin's just first thing will be to just level the rifle and say, "Let her go, Vedic."
Okay. Why don't we move everyone up to that first tier? But I'm gonna draw a line. And the line will become relevant. So let me freehand a line here. Basically, don't go past that red line. So you guys can move up wherever you would like that is not before that red line.
Is the 2 bodies of the Marissa before the red line?
Yes, the 2 bodies are over here to the left side of the platform.
I'm going to go over there and try to do some emergency medicine.
Okay.
If it's...
Yes, so as I'm speaking and acting the part of the Vedic, if you can roll me 2 daring medicines, difficulty 1, and if you succeed, the Marissa are stabilized. If you fail, you lose them. So as you're rolling that, so Merthrin, you rush forward and level the phaser, and you say to let them go, as it were. And the Vedic turns very slightly to you and says, "Well, it took you long enough to get here. I was wondering if I would ever have to worry about you idiots."
Vedic Parbe, in keeping with Federation accords, you are under arrest. Cease and desist this immediately.
No, I don't think so. In fact, I think it is you who doesn't quite understand the gravity of the situation. And he taps on his phaser a little bit, and everyone hears it audibly charge up higher. I've just set this phaser to maximum kill. All it would take is me depressing this just so little, and good Queen Morwenna here would be gone forever. Oh, and before you get any cute ideas about shooting me, you should see this as well. And he uses his free hand to open up his robes, and you see that underneath his robes is just explosive after explosive strapped to him. and he says, "If you make any attempt to hurt me or otherwise knock me unconscious or stun me, I have a dead man switch. So don't think about playing cute."
Pendek will lower his
tense
rifle.
silence, and then Murthrin will say, "Everyone, lower your weapons."
Ah, good. You have some sense then. Go ahead and throw those away. Throw them into the water.
Elucidate us, Vedek. What exactly do you hope to accomplish with this?
And why should I tell you? As far as I'm concerned, you're just an audience for this.
Oh, I don't think I'm very much of an audience, Vedek. I definitely step forward so he can see me very clearly.
Ah, Havoc. I would have thought that the temporal bomb I had planted on the Adiona would have taken care of you, but alas, here you are. Perhaps one of my mistakes.
Unfortunately, I'm a bit too tough for even a temporal bomb to kill.
Well, the galaxy's lost, I suppose. Anyway, he turns to the Queen. "I'll say it twice more, and if I don't get it by the second time, I will kill you. Tell your attendants to bring out the orb and to do it now."
And Murthrin will sort of attempt to sort of mentally contact Morwinner and say, talk to me. What are our options?
All right, so since you are a beta Z, and you have, what is it, telepathy, empathy?
Empath.
Empath.
Unfortunately.
Okay, so unfortunately, because you're not a telepath, all you're really able to get from Rowena is emotion on this regard. And she's obviously distressed. She is conflicted because you can feel that she feels pain for those of her people who have been injured. And at the same time, she's concerned probably because, Parabe is asking for the orb, and it's kind of put her in a tough situation.
Pendek is a telepath, however.
Okay.
And I will tell her, do not release the orb into his possession. He will use it to wreak havoc, and it is your duty to protect your people to ensure that he does not obtain this item.
I understand what you are saying, Captain, but I do have a duty to my people, and if saving them means giving up the orb, then I will do it.
You are, not, in fact, endangering them greater by doing this. With this item, he can use it along with his time travel abilities, or the time travel technology within his possession, to wreak untold havoc amongst this quadrant and others.
All right. Walter, are you here? I think he might be still AFK. All right, so he said to move Drake up a little bit, so we will move him up a little bit further. All right, so...
did Priya manage to stabilize the...
Yes, Priya did manage to stabilize the two of them, and even got you 2 momentum.
Cool. Alrighty. Now I have to actually come up with a plan on the fly. It's so much easier in the show where they have the script writers come up with a plan first.
As I wander past Murthrin, I'm trying to slide. Darval's trying to slide away back to the shuttle, and he'll sort of thought poke.
Just out of character mention here to Darval, transporters have the ability to deactivate weapons in mid-transport.
Why do you think I'm heading to the shuttle?
And Murthrin will sort of get an idea of what he's going and start walking in the direction of Priya as he continues to talk to the Vedic.
Okay.
I'm going to send a thought to Murthrin. Monologuing. Keep him busy.
Yeah. And basically, as Murthrin sort of starts to slowly sort of circle round, and be going... And I wanted to believe I was just not giving you the benefit of the doubt, Vedic.
He says nothing, but he does continue to look in your direction.
I will step to the other side of Havoc. Surely you see the illogical nature of what you are doing. You are one man against an entire fleet. Where do you have
I
to
think he's
go?
I think he's well beyond logic at this point, Pinnick.
Oh no, please, let
Still.
your Vulcan attack dog speak. I'm sure he would love to quote how logical this is to me. It's not like he has any other course. He is Vulcan after all. It's all they can think about.
I could say the same with your faith-based belief. You are willfully chained to that.
And real quick, now that Walter's back, so how much do I need to bring you up to speed, Walter? How much of this have you caught?
I sincerely apologize to everybody. I missed almost everything other than... Yeah, no, I pretty much missed everything.
Well, Drake is bleeding on the ground. He's got mortal wounds.
All right.
Wonderful. I have tough. You're not getting rid of me that easy.
Yeah.
Vedic Parbe has basically given Queen Moana the ultimatum: bring out the orb or bad things. He's got a phaser set to vaporize, and he's rigged with explosives and a dead man switch.
Wonderful. Gotta love zealots.
Mm-hmm.
And what's the red line?
The red line was just something for me where I told you not to cross it, because if you cross it, things start happening.
Okay.
And
Basically, that's how far we got before he said not another step.
Yeah. And the other thing that might be relevant for Drake is that Prier has already treated 2 injured Marissa over here to the left. But there are further injured Marissa on the second tier of this platform.
Oh, see if you can at least negotiate that the doctor go up and treat the wounded.
I had a character question.
Sure.
Because I kind of forgot. I'm sorry, so that's what I'm asking.
No, you're fine.
After last session, when Havoc's arm was treated, what exactly was done? This is relevant. I'm going to come back to this, I swear.
Well, I guess I'm trying to remember. I think Havoc's arm was just replaced, was it not?
Well, if we had
It was the robotic one. So I believe we did replace it, but I did mention that my character would go through messing with it personally when she got it.
Yeah, so I would say that given the amount of time that has passed between this session and the last one, there hasn't been time for Havoc to, say, put in anything major into the arm.
I understand. All right. Well, in that case, but it is cybernetic in nature.
Yes.
Okay, then.
Can I, while they're all talking or have been talking, can I have sent a text-based message to Darval to possibly set up the transporter that's on the shuttle?
Yeah, that's where he's going at the moment.
We've already done that.
Okay. Then, because my idea was to transport me up there to grab him.
Oh, no. He's going to transport himself. Transporters can deactivate weapons.
Okay.
So, what I'll say, though, again, we're not in initiative order, but as things happen, our Duval, you sort of get to that bridge that crosses between where you are and where the shuttle is. The Vedic shouts to the Queen, deactivate that bridge. And...
jump for it.
The Queen does acquiesce, so that bridge is no longer there.
All right. How far is the jump?
Looks to be about 20 feet.
20 feet. That's...
Murthren will sort of make a sort of wait for a second motion at Duval.
If I suspect I can make the jump, but the second I do, things are going to move very quick.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, so Murthren, meanwhile, is going to get all the way over to the injured Marissa.
Mm-hmm.
Like, are they conscious?
Prier has managed to get one conscious again. The other is stable but unconscious.
Actually, I wanna try getting Vedic to monologue a bit more.
Okay.
So I look at Vedic and say, "All right, Vedic, if you consider yourself so much more intelligent and so much further ahead than us in your plan, what is your real end game? Because all I can see is you strapping bombs to your chest and threatening an unarmed woman, saying that you are such a great man."
Clearly you do not know what this orb represents. Once the Paw Wraiths get a hold of it, let's just say that we will no longer have to deal with species like the Cardassians, or the Federation for that matter. The Bajorans will be as powerful as the Takan, and there will be nothing you can do to stop it.
surely you must recognize that we will not allow this to continue.
It doesn't matter what you allow. It's going to happen. And I'm spending 2 threat. Parabe points the phaser at one of the injured Marissa and vaporizes them.
Ooh. Was that the one that was conscious?
No, one on this. Let me clarify. One of the injured Marissa on this second
cool.
platform.
Well, let's add killing of innocent civilians and lacking in any sort of logical understanding of your position to your list of failures.
While all this is going on, Murthrin's going to sort of go to the conscious Marissa and say, I need you to sort of on the sly ask Queen Morena, can she see the dead man switch that Vedek has?
They nod. There's a brief conversation. Of course, you are not privy to it, but they eventually come back and tell you directly, and only you hear this, Murthrin, because they're trying to be very quiet. The dead man switch, from what the Queen has been able to tell, is a manual trigger and is one that is monitoring his vitals.
Alright, so it's not like a physical trigger he's holding.
No, well, he has one, but the most important thing is that there is something monitoring his vitals.
Cool.
Alrighty,
so Murthrin's going to say, okay, I want you to tell the Queen, when you give her the signal, I want her to open her mouth as wide as she can and just give the Vedek a massive fright. And knock the phaser out of his hand while he's distracted. We will be providing the distraction.
And they don't answer, but they do nod to confirm that they've both heard this.
Murthrin, meanwhile, sort of moves up to... let's see, who'd be best at distracting the Vedek?
Well, we haven't been doing roles so far, but things like presence security are good here. Things like presence command are good here.
Basically, I'm wanting to get something that would make Vedek sort of look away from the Queen for a second in order to give her time to snatch the switch and then just give him a massive fright.
Gotcha. To answer your question, Drake, again, it's okay because you weren't here. So each of these tiers is about head height unless you take the 2 staircases. So you can get up them. It just requires a roll and some movement to climb on up.
Okay.
Consider your position, Parbe. We will not allow you to obtain the orb. And you are willing to give up your life, therefore failing in your mission altogether.
I fail to see how you're going to stop me.
Who's piloting Shatsu at the moment?
That would be me.
Cool. Murthrin will start slowly making his way over to Shatsu during this next bit of monologuing.
And I've been moving Drake back and forth. Drake is literally pacing around Morgan and this set of stairs, back and forth.
Okay.
In that case, I'd like to get a word in today. That'd be neat. All right, cool. So completely independently, while everybody's, is trying to go on and they're trying to do their own thing,
actually, out of character, Morgan, you've got beef with this person. He sort of time-wiped your crew.
No, I agree, but there's a reason why I'm not engaging. I'd like to move closer to Prier while he's, since he's still on the field here, right?
Uh-huh.
So I'd like to actually move closer to him, and actually, I'm purposely trying not to get Vedek Parves because I've already known that he can identify Havoc.
Mm-hmm.
So before he identifies myself, I'd like to go closer to Pereira and just ask, with this medical tricord, quickly, can it just actually be turned? And I'm going to come up with some technobabble. If you see a moment of opportunity, can you switch it to a inverse scattering field?
Absolutely.
I'm sure that everybody here is mostly capable and they're looking for an opportunity. But in that case, as soon as you see that, I'd like to make sure that we can get a field up so we can get no other communication in or out. Not just communications, but signals themselves.
Makes sense. Make it so he has to stay here.
Exactly.
Can I? Actually, that's not a bad idea. Can I make a roll looking at his S-vest to see what the yield on it would be?
Yes, roll me an insight security, please. Difficulty 2 because of the distance.
Okay. And I have an applicable focus with explosives.
Oh, yeah. All right,
Nice.
2's all you need. You're fairly confident that if those things go off, it will destroy everything within a 35-foot radius. So I guess let me throw an aura around him so that you all can see it.
And how far down is this cliff?
So if you were to drop from the highest tier down into the surrounding water, both the water and the distance would more or less handle the explosion. So let's start with the beginning. So the tier you're on now, the first tier, is about 5 to 10 feet up. The second tier is about 15 to 20, and then the third tier is about 25 to 30.
Gotcha.
And hopefully everyone can now see the aura of effect.
Mm-hmm. So to take out the Queen and pretty much all the injured Marissa.
Yep.
Okay, now out of character. Does anyone want to do anything before Murthrin tries his plan?
I have a plan of my own, but it involves somebody working a transporter.
That's what I'm trying to get to. So
that is part of what Murthrin's plan is. He's basically wanting to create a window for Darval to run to the runabout.
I want to help out with that because I'm gonna try and get him to monologue a bit more because I'm guessing this guy has a bit of a pride considering he managed to blow up a ship.
Cool. That'll give Murthrin time to sneak over to Shatsu and get that part of the plan set up.
While all of that's going on, would Prier actually require assistance in modifying this medical tricorder?
I would say he would, yes. I would say that it would be a roll. It would be a daring plus medicine or a daring plus engineering.
I'll be using daring medicine.
All right, then. Well, in that case, I'll just, since I'm right next to him, I'll assist with advisor.
Okay.
We'll be over top of the Marissa that is still laying down, acting like we are helping him.
Right.
Okay.
So I'm gonna get him to monologue now. So, Vedek, I actually have a small question of your immensely, I'm guessing you consider it intelligent plan. How did you manage to get the bomb on my ship?
Oh, well, it was quite easy. In fact, you did it for me. You let that stupid hologram on your ship.
So I'm guessing you reprogrammed him in some way.
Oh, no, I didn't see fit to mess with that. But now that I think about it, yeah, probably should have. I should have let you fail. But, where's the sport in that?
And yet, you let us save an entire species that's friendly to the Federation survive. You did not think about that part, did you?
Oh, no, I did. Let's just say that whoever I work for, we've decided that, ironically enough, you doing that was in our best interests.
Right, and Murthrin will go over to Shatsu and go, Lieutenant Commander, do you still have your Type 2 phaser on you?
Always carry it on me, Captain.
Cool. I want you to set it for a wide pattern explosion, and when you're ready, shuck it off to the left there.
Will do, Captain. And she'll get to work on that.
Yep, and sort of give me the signal when you're ready.
And I'll send a text message to Murthrin.
Yep.
Captain, give me a distraction and I've got this handled. I'm not joking.
Yep. And Methrin will sort of reply back, already on it.
Okay. Then I am going... has the Vedic said... I'm sorry, because I was away. Has the Vedic said that he is from a different time, or he is from our time?
Nobody's asked, and he has not said anything.
Hasn't said either way.
I actually was about to ask that question.
Then please do, and I will roleplay off of what he says.
So, Vedek, you just said your group finds it that that species is good for your group to survive. Now I have a question. Do you really come from this timeline, or are you from a different one?
Does it matter?
It actually does.
Why? So that you can feel better about the shitty situation you're in?
No. I wonder if you're this version's timeline of it, so I can slap you upside the head when I finally get to deal with you. Or do I have to go and yell at your other self in this timeline for another timeline him?
Perhaps I'm not making myself clear, and probably vaporizes another injured one.
You gotta stop doing that. You're not making yourself any more likable.
Oh, it doesn't matter if you like me or not. Their blood is on your hands now.
You...
You're the one pulling the phaser and have the dead man switch.
You, like all Bajorans, you hate the Cardassians, right? Were you there when they were there?
Indeed I was.
You know you had outside help, remember?
Fail to see how this is relevant.
Well, I mean, I'd kind of like to know a little bit more about you, so I figured I'd tell you a little bit about me. Yeah, I was there. I worked with you guys to fight the Cardassian. I hate the Cardassian. I hate being around the Cardassian. I hate their smell. And the fact that I have to deal with them now is kind of shitty.
Somewhere Garrick is like, I feel a disturbance in the Force.
And, I mean, you know, sometimes you just have to think about how, you know, the people that are in front of you and how just really of a shitty situation you're in.
And can Mithrin take that as a cue?
You can certainly take that as a cue.
Cool. And Mithrin will sort of give Shatsu the signal.
All right.
And at the same time, give the Marissa the signal for the Queen, and then we'll turn to Darval and say, now!
Okay. All right. So several things are going to happen at once here, and we're gonna try to make them happen. So, Shatsu, you're throwing your Type 2 off to the side as an explosive distraction, yes?
Correct.
All right, you are going to be rolling me a Daring Security difficulty 2.
All right.
And I've got a floating determination I can spend to make sure someone who fails terribly can actually do it.
I'll spend her point of determination here just to get the successes.
Okay.
Her only value is first one in, last one out.
Okay. I mean, this is technically
I
activating
mean, this
her,
counts as
so-
first one in.
Yeah. So, we'll say for sake of argument, you can activate a determination on her. Okay. So that's 2 free successes. You still do need to roll in case of complications or momentum.
Handheld energy weapons is a focus?
I would say yes, because you are overloading one.
Alrighty. Sweet.
All right, so you get a momentum.
It pays to know how to safely make your phaser explode.
Mm-hmm. All right, so
we aren't at 9 momentum. Oh my god.
Sorry,
you're not quite that high.
Nope, not there.
All right, so you toss the phaser off to the side, and it sinks a little bit into the water, and then explodes, sending up a cascading waterfall and just water everywhere over the area. At the same time, Drake, I believe you're next in line.
I am going to charge him.
Okay.
And I'm going to take the minor action to run.
Okay.
I'm going to spend my full action to continue running at him.
Okay.
And then I would like to spend 2 momentum of what we have to tackle him off the cliff.
Okay. I just want to be very clear here. You do realize what this means if you succeed.
I'm not coming back.
All right.
Does Morwenna get a chance to take the dead man switch away from him first?
Unfortunately, no. So, Drake, as what could be Drake's very last roll if this succeeds, you need to roll me a fitness and a con to represent how fast and how skillfully you run up to Parabe.
Okay.
That's going to be part 1. And this is going to be a difficulty 4 task because of the situation and because of the elevations involved. If you succeed at that, there will be a daring security at a difficulty of 3. Well, we'll make it an opposed daring security. And if you succeed, you will tackle Parabe off the cliff.
Okay.
So let's handle the fitness and con first.
Okay. Can I use my intelligence officer to give myself an advantage to lessen the difficulty?
I would say yes, and that advantage, which I have in mind, is that you as an intelligence officer have been preparing for a situation like this, and you have devoted many hours of training for this specific kind of scenario.
Okay. So the difficulty would go from 4 to 2 or 4 to 3?
4 to 3.
Okay.
As a captain, I'd like to give him my point of determination.
Okay.
I will use his determination because I was going to burn through pretty much all of mine to give myself 2 automatic successes.
Okay, so then I only need to see 1 success here, and you're golden.
Fitness con. I will spend 1 momentum to give myself a 3rd dice.
It's 2 momentum because you have already gotten the determination.
Correct. Then yeah, I will spend... Yeah, we'll do that. To give me a 3rd dice. And I do have an applicable focus of hand-to-hand combat.
All right. Well, the hand-to-hand combat's not coming into play yet. This is, again, just you running up there.
Infiltration?
Sure. I'll let you have it.
All right.
Okay.
So that's
4 successes, which means you do manage to get up there. So Drake, almost like the Flash, to use a comic book character, you dart up the 2nd platform, and then you dart up even further, almost like a bolt of lightning. And you do get a momentum, by the way, so you are up to 2. But you get to about there, right as Parabe is beginning to turn and point his phaser at you.
Okay. Then for the second part, I will... that you said is a daring and security.
Opposed, yes. And I am going to be spending all of my threat here so that Parabe can roll 5 dice.
Okay. Then I would like to... I'm going to use my own determination.
Okay.
And the value I'm going to be using is doesn't know how to fail.
Okay.
To give me 2 automatic successes.
Okay.
And
this is hand-to-hand combat, so you can't apply that.
And I can't then burn a determination to do this, can I?
No. Well, you can't give yourself 4 successes to start with if that's what you're going for. But if after the roll, if you're not the victor, you could burn a value and get a point of determination, which then could be used to re-roll.
Okay. Then yeah, we'll do that, and I will spend the 1 momentum that I got us. Well, we should be at 2, correct?
Yeah, you're at 2 at the moment.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yeah, and you have to spend the 2 momentum in order to do this swift task.
Gotcha.
So you would be at 0 momentum, technically.
I thought McCall already took it out because we were at 5 to start with.
Yeah.
So I'm at 3 dice with 2 automatic successes
and
applicable focus, yes. I don't think I have anything else that will... I got a backup plan, but that's about it. Okay. So yeah. Son of a bitch!
That is
Nice
8
time for it.
successes.
That is a
Bloody
horrific way to
hell.
go.
Goes out with a bang.
And Parabe has only rolled a total of 4 successes, which means you get 4 momentum from that. All right, Drake, this is your character. How does he go out?
I will tackle Parabe off the back end, I'll tackle him off the back end and say I knock Queen Morwenna down 1 level, so that way she's got even more cover from the explosion as I do it.
Okay.
And it's a good suggestion, McCall, but he doesn't yell Leroy Jenkins.
Well.
But yeah, I spear his ass off of the back of the cliff.
All right.
Stare him down as you fall.
Yep. And as you fall, and everyone no longer sees Drake and the Vedic, you see a phaser fired off, but moments later there's a resounding explosion and a jet of water that shakes the very ground from which you speak and blows a good-sized chunk into the backside of that platform. Luckily, Queen Morwenna is shielded from the blast by going down a level, but unfortunately, both Vedic and Drake are no longer.
And sort of Mertrin just sort of like closes his eyes and just get a medical team down here. See to the Marissa.
Already making the calls, Merthrin.
Yeah, and Merthrin, now that sort of the danger's past, goes up to Queen Morwenna.
All right. So, you help her up, and she, of course, thanks you and says, I honestly don't know what to say, Captain. I feel like this is my fault for letting this happen, but at the same time, you've just done something very important. You and your people have just done something very, very important.
I'm just sorry we didn't realize sooner.
I do not blame you. In fact, those that have died this day will be forever honored as heroes among the Morissa.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, I will make it a royal decree that from this point onward, Starfleet is to be treated by the Marissa as not only ally, but staunch defenders of all that is good in the universe.
Right, that's probably a good button for the scene.
Mm-hmm. So, long story short, you are able to save the other remaining injured Marissa. However, you now have the, shall we say, difficult conversation to have with Admiral Skull in your ready room, Merthrin. So we're gonna cut to your ready room. And as much as Garrick would love to be there, Garrick is not there.
Garrick is everywhere.
Mm-hmm. So, in steps Rear Admiral Skull.
I would have asked for a port, Captain, but I figured I'd hear it straight from you.
We succeeded in stopping the Vedic. Not without loss, but Queen Morwenna is safe, and well, our time mole is dealt with.
Yes. I would like to I'd like to use my rank and rechristen one of the Valkyrie fighters to be the Drake. I think it'd be fitting.
I agree. This never gets easier, does it?
Nope. No, it does not. And if it did, I'd be worried.
Good.
So, as far as I'm aware, Drake did not have a next of kin. But we're also going to need a new chief of fleet security. but that can wait.
Well, when we do get round to it, there's a Bolian I think would make a good choice.
Raise an eyebrow. Okay. I'll take that under advisement. So, Captain, what now? I got this technical briefing of a graviton catapult. Do you think it's worth pursuing?
I think anything that gets this crew closer to home is worth pursuing.
Agreed.
But in order to do that, we're going to need some resources. And on that end, and he'll sort of like look Skull in the eye, how do you feel about taking the fight back to the caretakers?
I put on that same tired smirk that you've seen before. I'm pretty much in the mood to punch something.
Well, we'll have a lot of targets. Let's talk specifics.
All right, and we pull up a system sector map as we fade to black.
Start working on a battle plan. And have we lost our GM?
He's muted for some reason.
Sorry about that. It might help if I did unmute myself. So, the last scene of the season, again, not of the series, just of the season. I'm curious, would Drake be having a burial at sea or a burial at stars?
Oh, I mean, I feel like he would have specified it somewhere which he would have preferred. But,
well, it is in the black box that was delivered to you. Which I think I was muted when I said it. A black box was delivered to you at the time that the computer recorded his death.
All right, who was that delivered to? To Murthrin?
To Murthrin, yes.
Oh, well, he will look at that.
All right, so Drake, if you have any remaining, this is sort of your last will and testament, so feel free.
Drake would want to be buried where he died. If that was aboard a ship, it would be at sea. If that was on a planet, he would want to be buried on the planet.
Well, that'll work out well, because I'd imagine the Marissa have a hero they want to memorialize.
And I'm sure there's not very many pieces left.
He beat me to it.
Well, actually, Jester beat us both to it in the Discord. But the only other things that he has in there is a letter to Zarid that I will talk to McCall about later.
Mm-hmm.
And a note saying to take all his personal effects to his grandfather, who is on Earth. And that Zarid is the only person that knows where he's at.
So Murthrin will make sure his personal effects get stored in the captain's quarters for safekeeping.
And then there is all that's left in the box is one letter that's addressed to Shatsu and why am I blanking on Locke? There's a letter addressed to both of them.
So both of them joint letter?
Yes. Cool. And that's it.
All right, so I'd imagine Locke and Shatsu would get called up to the captain's quarters / ready room.
Okay. Well, again, unfortunately, Locke is in here, so we'll probably handle that off screen.
Yep. And basically just deliver them the letter and let them read it privately.
Gotcha. So, the final scene. You all, well, pretty much anyone who wants to be in attendance, unless Murthrin wants to make it a actual requirement for people to show up, which he probably is going to, but there's only so much room.
Command staff at least.
Yeah. There's only so much room on the island or the atoll that, you've been using as a landing spot on Suetha, or on Suthia. I'll say it right eventually. but the small sandbar is packed, not only with people from the fleet, but also with Marissa. And the Marissa have already prepared a beautiful white boat that seems to be made out of crystal with a symbiotic casket bearing the picture of Drake carved into the front or the top of the ceremonial casket. And I'm going to give Murthrin an opportunity to speak here, and then the Queen's going to say something, and then that will be it.
Oh, damn.
I actually had
something to say.
Oh, I mean, if other people have something
Yeah,
to say,
like-
please feel free.
Definitely someone who has something to say, because I've got nothing prepared.
Okay.
I actually, before this took place, if we have the time,
Mm-hmm.
I had a scene that Densho wanted to do with Beckett after all this occurs.
I'm looking at the time we got left. We'll have to sidebar it, unfortunately, because I don't know how long people are going to want to talk here.
Okay.
Mine's short and sweet.
All right, go to.
Oh, okay. Pinnock will walk up, and he'll kind of turn to everybody, and he'll say, Vulcans are not known for giving emotional speeches, so I will use the words of a human. The best people possess a feeling for beauty, the courage to take risks, the discipline to tell the truth, and the capacity for sacrifice. Ironically, their virtues make them vulnerable. They are often wounded, sometimes destroyed. And then he'll take a moment of silence and then move back to the group.
I think probably let the Queen do her thing.
Okay. So Queen steps up and says, Mr. Drake was someone I did not know personally, but one I would have liked to know. He saved my life. He saved the orb falling into the hands of individual and perhaps the people that should not have it in their possession. The Marissa take this sort of thing very seriously. We view it as an honor debt, not only to Drake, but to Starfleet in general. And though this may be premature for me to say, we hope that one day the Marissa will proudly stand alongside Starfleet as we continue to honor heroes such as Mr. Drake. And then she steps back.
And then I'd imagine the boat just sort of goes off into the sunset.
And as it does, the ranking non-commissioned officer turns to their security officers and he says, "Present arms!" and goes through the whole ceremony of a 21 phaser salute.
Mm-hmm.
And that is where we end the season.
And one last thing to deal with, because I did change a value, challenge a value, and that will be, I'll be changing the Federation's ideals must be protected to we pay for our sins in the end one way or another.
Fair, very poignant. All right, well, again, thank you guys so much for a lovely season. Again, this is not the end for the Amalthea. We are just going to take a 1 to 2 week break, give people time to relax, decompress. Lord knows some of us need it. So, worst case, we would be back. Let me look at dates here. Worst case, we would be back May 18th. We could be back May 11th. Basically, just, watch Twitter. I'll tweet about it, about when we're back. But this is where I'm going to end the recording. So to anyone watching on Twitch, YouTube, or listening in on podcast or any form of that, thank you again so much for listening in. Hopefully you had a good time. And as a Vulcan would say, live long and prosper. Bye-bye.